and gentlemen, please unmute your microphones. We will be live in 3, 2, 1.
All rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting of November 18th, 2021. First on the agenda is Binns Family Trust, 5 Veggie Lane. Mike, I believe you had some comments on this?
Yeah, you just provide a list of the previous variance. He has all the area variances. He did not include the use variance. I didn't see it on the plat. The variances were recently just granted and are noted on the plan. All other zoning comments have been addressed.
Thank you. And Rich?
So as Mike mentioned, this is an application proposal and storage building. They need a permit for stormwater coverage, which they can get. They need to get about 5 days before they start the work. They need to provide performance bond, associated engineering fee for the stormwater management practices, and they may need to provide a stormwater maintenance agreement under the town code. But otherwise, they're good to go.
And Pat?
So, Mr. Chairman, if you remember, this is the storage building on the property. There were some minor site plan issues that they addressed prior to the referral to the zoning board, which have all been addressed. We have no further issues on this.
Okay. I know this has been in front of the board a few times. Any comments from the board tonight?
The only question I had was, and it's my eyes, I can't see it. What's the height of the new building? Oh, it's there, I just can't read it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, the zoning board said, the code says it can go up to 35, but the zoning board said at 25.
So that's the height, 25?
25. Well, actually, it's a little bit less, but they gave us a little room just in case.
There's a corner that kind of drops off, and the height of the building is the average across the whole thing. So I asked for an extra foot just for leeway in case. I don't want to have to go back to zoning over an inch or two, so.
And just to confirm, it's a storage facility, no apartment within that facility, just storage only,
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
Not even plumbing.
No plumbing, okay. And Mike, Rich, you reviewed the downward lighting and the lighting and whatnot, were you okay with that?
They provided a lighting plan.
Great. If there's no other comments, do we have a motion to schedule a public hearing?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, if you could also have a resolution, since all the items have been addressed.
I'm sorry?
If we could have a resolution at the next meeting, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can look at that, Pat.
Thank you.
Just make sure you put that use variance on there.
I have your memo, and I'll put it on.
And then you're also going to need to get the performance bond numbers for us so they get included with the bond, with the resolution.
Oh, okay, yeah, we can do that. I'll get you that. Just, Mr. Chairman, just for curiosity, when is the next meeting?
There's one, potentially 2 meetings. Right now, the December meeting is scheduled for the second Wednesday of the month, I believe.
Okay,
Then we'll see what the agenda is, and we'll see if we have to squeeze in the 3rd meeting.
so second Wednesday.
It would be the 8th.
The 8th, then.
The 8th? Okay, thank you very much.
And Joel, the only thing I'll just reiterate is what Rich and Mike just said, is there's still some general comments that you need to fulfill.
No, there's some stuff on my zoning chart that Mike wants on there, so
Yep.
Which would drive the resolution being prepared.
we'll have that,
Exactly.
we'll have that all taken
Yeah,
care
the
of.
information's there. I just asked them to change the format a little bit on I spoke to them about it the other day. It says the variances were granted, just put it up by the variance that it was granted at this time.
In other words,
It just makes it
it
easier
was
for
in
the
sentence
future.
form, and Mike wants me to put the same thing on the chart, which
Fair
there's no
enough.
problem.
Yep.
It's easier for the future for all of us, so.
Agreed. Thank you, Joel.
You're welcome.
Next on the agenda, Delamere Fitzpatrick, Family Chiropractor, 87 Ellen Avenue. Mike, your comments, please?
Code allows office of professional in a residence. The professional office is now in the second residence. Use variance is required for the expansion of the pre-existing non-conforming lot containing 2 one-family dwellings. Provide number of employees. He provided it, but not directly. Just write the word 1 employee, because I think that's what we
There is only one
discussed.
employee, yes.
So just write 1 employee, just the doctor. Several area variances required from the ZBA, lot area, depth, side yard for the workshop, rear yard for the workshop, rear yard for the office, and rear yard for the garage. The chicken coop has to be moved or provide the easement that Joel was told he has.
Yes.
If you have the easement, you got to show us where it's going to be, and it has to comply with code. Town of Carmel is not going to go for a variance for a chicken coop on their property, and we own the adjacent property.
No, I agree. That's no problem. Hopefully, we'll get referred to the zoning board, and before that, we will either move the chicken coop or get rid of it. And of course,
Just make sure, because you don't want to go back and forth to the zoning board, so.
No.
move
Mike,
it
just
or-
to refresh our memories, at last meeting, I think we talked about the chicken coop. So the chicken coop is located on the neighbor's property?
Which happens to
What
be Town
happens
of
to be the
Carmel
town of
property.
Carmel.
I believe it's called the Vols Park.
It was several acres that were donated by Mr. Volz years ago.
Oh, on top of the...
It's way up from where Villa Barone is, all the way on the top. That's where it is.
Yeah. So either you have to move it,
Or show us an easement and meet the code. And right now, it doesn't meet the code for the setback to the property line.
Correct.
So it would have to be moved, or the owner of the property would have to get a variance, which is the Town of Carmel, and we don't go for variances, I don't think.
No, so, as Mike said, either we'll get rid of it or show an easement that it's legal where it
You
is.
can't move it onto their property, huh?
What's that?
They can't move it onto their property?
That's another possibility. Then we just have to move it 15 feet from their
Yeah, I'd
property.
hate for them to have to lose the chickens. You're allowed to have
seems to be
chickens.
easier than getting an easement. or-
Much easier and
Yeah.
much more sense. If you move it to 15 feet,
Yeah.
it's a moot
I think
point.
that's,
We're done.
I think that's probably the best way to do it. And as you said, the town's not going to
No.
apply for variances.
Rich?
So as already been noted, the chicken coop's located on Town of Carmel property. Applicants noted referrals that were necessary. The applicant should show the area of disturbance on the drawing. It should be outlined, or it should be identified and delineated on the drawing. Public, there'll be a performance bond, associated engineering fee may need to be established. There are a bunch of detailed comments, about 6 of them. Erosion sediment control details must be provided. If any additional electric utilities are being installed, needs to be identified. Lighting spill plan should be provided. The stormwater control details must be provided. The paving parking area details must be provided and must meet town code. Guide rails also must be provided, and they must be town code. So we need all the details on that. There were some notes from the meeting. Applicant has noted most of them and has provided the information. We need details on the rain garden, how it's going to be sized, and that's, silt fencing again, all that kind of stuff was in there, all that kind of, more details. It's only one sheet of paper that's been given to us. As the board can see, there are no additional details for some of the site amenities that are there. They just need to be provided. They're typically provided. So.
Okay.
Thanks, Rich. And Pat?
So as Mike indicated, there are a number of variances, including the use variance that's required for this. This is also a special permit use, the home professional office, and that's governed by 5 or 6 standards in the code, which it appears are complied with, but you should put that on the drawing as well, compliance with each of those. It's the number of employees, the required parking, the size of the sign, and so forth, things like that. So I believe he complies with most of those, but documented on the plan, Joel, so it's clear. So put those
Okay.
conditions on the plan.
Just make a chart with all these requirements.
Yep.
Okay. No
And
problem.
the modification that I think Joel talked about at the last meeting, but we didn't see, was the pull-off on the driveway
Yeah,
on the
the
left-hand
new drawing
side.
does show the pull-off at the top of the hill, which is what the board
Right,
wants.
so now that's on the plan, and as we requested, it's on the plan in a reasonable location, not at the top of the hill. And there would be conditions of this approval. The applicant's agreeing to prohibit truck access up the driveway. I'm not sure how that's enforced, but that would be a condition of your approval, and whether we sign it or do something similar, we'd have to develop a protocol to prevent that from occurring.
So what do you mean by that, Pat? And I did read that prior to the meeting. So, UPS truck's not going to drive up the driveway?
So that's what the applicant is proposing, because of the steepness of the driveway and the concerns you've expressed. So their response is, we'll prohibit it. My point is, I don't know how you prohibit that when the UPS guy drives to the
Just with
driveway.
a sign, that's all you can do.
What's the plan, Joel?
What do they do now?
I mean, you got FedEx, you got Amazon, you've got United States Postal Service. You got all
Well,
of
I
them.
mean, when I talked about trucks, I'm talking about these huge, 18-wheelers, just a small like a UPS truck is certainly not a truck that can make up that hill. It's probably been going up that hill since Volks owned the property.
So that's the point, Mr. Chairman, so you need to clarify that.
So I think Pat is right. Let's clarify what can go up and what can't, so that it's very clear.
It's too ambiguous.
No, I agree. I agree.
Because the oil truck's already going up for the house.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what I was saying. It's not like you can say, don't deliver oil.
Right, but when we met in the field, the applicant and the owner said that they would keep the oil truck on the lower end and run the hose up through the yard.
Correct.
So they've said no to that the oil truck would not be driving up that driveway. Because he's putting a new driveway in, and he doesn't want it being ripped up by heavy trucks. So, again, that's bringing that point back to the board.
Yeah, I think as the consultant said, we'll make a chart as what can and what can't. And the smaller like vans and stuff like that, which is like a big car, shouldn't be a problem. But like the oil truck, like Rich said, I think that can be done through a hose. There is a walkway from the bottom of the driveway that goes up toward the house, so they can just take the hose up there.
Explain the pull-off again. It was up top. Was it or was it not lowered down?
It's been lowered down, so now it's about 150 feet up the driveway, as you head up the driveway on the left-hand side. So if you remember, at the last meeting, it was shown at the very top of the hill. Now it's,
Now
Yep.
in other words, it's instead of being up here where the parking is, it's now down in the driveway. Here's the pull-off right over here, and there's also, for some reason, there's an area over here we can have. So we basically have two: one toward the top of the driveway, and one toward the bottom, depending on who gets there first. But we do have two, and we have to show as Rich had asked for, to show that the cars can maneuver this curve over here back into the parking spaces, pull out and just go forward. So that's all.
I mean, there's a better line of sight when it moved to there.
Joel, you need to have a microphone.
You can't hear me.
We can, the public can't.
Maybe even to go one step further, Joel, maybe at that point have a sign or signage saying that up has the right of way.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Pat, any other comments?
no, sir.
Comments from the board? What kind of feedback have we gotten from the highway department, Mike Simone, from the fire department?
Actually, we sent it to the fire department, haven't heard from them. But interestingly enough, the day that Rich came out, also Mike Simone came out too, because there was a question about something that he had done at on Ellen Avenue. And make a long story short, we went over everything with him, and he seems to be okay with what we're doing. We showed him that we're going to move the pull-off toward the top, so we showed him the one on the bottom. And that other issue where he was clearing was redone, and that's not going to happen. So he's happy.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would say that Mike really isn't going to be too concerned with the interior of a private property.
Right.
However, a fire department might be. So you really try to follow up, Joel? to
Yeah,
see
I
if we
will.
can-
I will. I definitely will. I haven't heard from them, so I will. I guess I have the name of the fire chief I can call.
Yeah, I believe one of Rich's comments even lists the fire department as, There's no other comments? We'll see you at the next meeting.
Okay.
I think there's too many comments to move this forward right now.
No, I agree. We'll come to the next
And
meeting.
the details, really,
And
'cause
the fire
the
department's
fire
response.
department's really important here. and-
Yeah, I'll
you
make
know,
sure we have something from them.
The guardrail is really important, a lot of things that Mike and Rich and Pat mentioned.
Absolutely.
Haven't driven up there. I want to make sure we do this right.
I agree. To everybody's benefit, of course.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Next on the agenda, Mary Sanjay, 10 Veggie Lane.
Mr. Chairman, I double-checked the website. Our next meeting is 12/9. It's a Thursday. The website shows it also as the next meeting after that is 12/22, but I know that's still in discussion with, that you're still discussing it with the board and what we're doing. But definitely our next meeting is 12/9, December 9th.
December 9th. Thank you. Thanks, Rich. I know the 23rd, you says the other option?
It says online the 22nd. That's what's on the Town of Cornwall webpage right now. I don't know if that's still going to be a meeting. I think that's what you were referring
My
to.
conversations have been, well, if we should have a meeting, we will. If there's enough topics in
That's why
there,
it's there, Joe.
you know, I know it's a tough time of year, but
So, Mr. Chairman, it's now 12:09.
the next meeting, according to Rich, is December 9th. It's a Thursday. Typically, it's the second Wednesday and fourth Thursday, but they're juggling calendars with the holidays.
Okay.
All right, 10 Veggie Lane, special site plan. Mike, you had a few comments, I believe.
The applicant proposes to complete the conversion of a one-family dwelling into a commercial office. The previous architect engineer got final approval, however, never completed the process. All the necessary variances were granted by the ZBA and noted on the plat. I have no zoning comments for the submission.
Thank you. Rich?
Mr. Chairman, so this was previously approved. The planning board has a resolution 12-16 dated June 13th, 2012. It's on file. It identifies conditions as noted in my memo, particularly 6, 7, 8, and 9. 6 says the existing detached garage shall be removed. 7, handicapped access shall be appropriately addressed. 8, all comments from the town engineer shall be satisfactorily addressed prior to execution of the final site plan, and the planning board attorney shall confirm legality of the right-of-way providing access to the site. Don't know if those have been addressed. I asked the applicant's representative to give me some info on that. Hopefully they can provide it this evening. The most recent memorandum that was provided by my predecessor has also been summarized and provided. It was a May 8th, 2012 memo. It talked about the right-of-way. It talked about pervious pavers, which were supposed to be there, dumpster enclosure, planting details, pavement details, retaining walls, handicap access. All those details needed to be provided. What was provided here to review did not have that information. Don't know if that information is available, but it should be provided as part of the final site plan approval. Well, it's already been approved to whatever, sign off on this. I think that's where we're kind of at right now.
Thanks, Rich. And Pat?
And a couple of quick things on this. When we dealt with this in 2012, there were 2 issues, some of the conditions that Rich mentioned, but you should revisit. The first is the requirement to provide handicapped access to the building. So there's now a handicapped parking space in front of the building, but if you look at the plan, right next to that is a flight of stairs to get into the building. So is there a secondary means?
There's an entrance right next to the handicap spot, and there's a ramp that goes up, because instead of a step, there's a ramp down there.
So that wasn't clear on the plan. So that's the answer to that, if in fact it was physical
Any other
access.
questions? Well, finish, and I'll go over.
Thanks, Joe. The second issue, and this is something that was part of the conversation originally, property is accessed from the very end of Veggie Lane. There's also a secondary means of access from Batista Drive, which goes over the bikeway in the other direction. And my recollection was, in 2012, the board did not want access into the site from that location. So there was a condition of that original approval, which had Joe looking at the access easements, and I'm not sure if that was limited to Veggie Lane or Batista as well. So I'm not clear, so I want the board to revisit that issue and determine if you want to allow them to have continued access from Batista or prevent that from occurring. I believe there's a gate there right now, so I don't think there's public access into the site, but it's physically possible. And I remember that being a concern in 2012.
This is right up against the bike path.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, I know.
a couple of questions. We don't,
I could just ask the consultants.
Go ahead.
So the approval from 2012, that's not still
It expired.
expired, so it's irrelevant. I mean, we have a new applicant,
Yep.
basically.
Yeah,
Correct.
But all
it's
the
same-
variances were granted.
and
It's
it's
still
very-
intact.
and raised the same plan, so that it's useful to understand what we were dealing with back then.
all right. First thing in the, called for in the previous approval was to have the garage removed, which it has been removed. The second thing was on the previous site plan, it shows some pervious pavers in order to get the 10th parking space, which is required. As far as the area off Veggie Lane, there is pavement and it's been striped for 4 cars. So we needed 6 cars down off the bike path or Batista Drive, and that's where the handicap spot is. Also, by getting rid of the garage, that driveway is no longer needed to go up there because there's no garage up there, so that becomes another, the extra parking space. So we don't have to have any improvements there, we don't have to have any pavers. I believe that, as I said, The new map will, the revised map will show the ramp going up to the entrance by the handicap spot, and will, address all the other issues that were brought up.
So Joel, to be clear, you are proposing to eliminate the access to Batista, is that correct?
No.
You're proposing to maintain that?
Yes. Yeah, yes, as I said, if you look at the map, there are 4 parking spaces off Veggie Lane, and there'll be 6 coming off of the bike path.
So there's no connection.
It's very crowded down in there,
Where?
off Veggie Lane there, right? When you come down Batista Drive? Not really.
No, but they're not connected. You come from either side. You come at the end of Veggie Lane, and there's 4 parking spaces. Required is 10. So
Right.
down off Batista Drive, there's another entrance, which has the handicap spot and the other additional spots to bring out up to 10.
And a dumpster will go where?
The dumpster, hold on.
You need the microphone.
Yeah, the dumpster's going to go in this area over here, where
Yeah,
the,
right, just,
where the garage used to be, just below that.
comments from the board?
Excuse me, the dumpster is on that drawing, Joe?
No, I just.
I would, yeah.
Because when I got the memos from the previous approval, but that was after I submitted it.
Do they have a dumpster, or they have totes?
Well, it's only office, so we'll show an enclosure for some garbage cans, I guess.
So you didn't send me anything with respect to the right-of-way easement?
No, I just found out about it yesterday.
Me too. Well,
Okay, so we're in the same boat?
What does he use for
But,
garbage pails?
But Joe, you have to do the oars.
So Joe, will you be getting that?
Yes, of course. So we'll address all these issues, and we'll see you on the 9th.
I just think it needs some more cleaning up, some.
Yeah, that's up by bins. Did we determine what you were doing for garbage pails?
He's gonna show it on a drawing, it doesn't show on the drawing.
What, are you putting a dumpster or no?
No, again, it's just some paper. It's not a residence, it's not,
I'm just asking the question.
yeah, garbage.
So you're going to use totes? Totes, garbage pails?
Yes, and we'll enclose it.
It's fine.
So
It's
it's
just,
not-
it doesn't have to be as big if it's just for
No,
the
of course not.
totes.
Joel will come back at the next meeting and fill in some of these details. All right?
so, Joe, for argument's sake, if that right-of-way doesn't exist, you don't have access. Do you?
Well, as I said, I just found out about this yesterday, so let me do some investigation, whatever.
Let's give Joel some time to clean this up and clarify this and come back to us on the 9th.
Yeah, I was just speaking to my client, and he does have it, and I'll get that to you.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
If you're
Oh,
outside,
you
we're gonna,
can't-
yeah.
Can't talk about that, Mike.
Yeah, it's the, that's fine. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
See you back on December 9th.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you on
Thank
the
you.
9th.
Thanks, Joe.
Take care.
Next on the agenda is Downtown Mayapack Properties, 559 Route 6, reapproval of final site plan. Mike, I don't believe you had any comments.
Yeah, I have no objection to the, I think it's a re-grant or an
Yeah,
extension. Yep,
re-approve,
I have no objection.
And Mike? Rich? Sorry.
The engineering department does not have objection to the reapproval. The board notes all the different pieces of the puzzle that are still needed, but the applicant's aware of those, DOT, DOH, and all that kind of fun stuff, so.
And for everybody's awareness, the reapprovals, I believe, for 1 year, right?
Correct.
And
So no objections to the reapproval, Mr. Chairman. You remember the delays that occurred last time around with DOT primarily, so the applicant has a fair argument to ask for that reapproval at this point.
Comments from the board?
And by the way, no change to the plans, it's the same plan.
There's no change. I have no issue with the 1-year extension. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant the applicant a 1-year reapproval.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Dave, thanks. I actually think this is a good project for the town. I think, you know, where this property is located, coming into town from that direction, this is a start, and this could be part of this whole revitalization and cleanup downtown, so we're looking forward to you proceeding with this.
Yeah, the guy that was holding us up retired finally, and I was able to put in the use and occupancy permit application a couple of weeks ago.
Good.
And the lady I'm dealing with in the state seems to be really helpful, and she says there's no problem, or she doesn't think there's any problem.
I'd like to see a persevere here personally. I think it's good for the community and good for the downtown Mattapack, so good luck, Dave.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Waited them out.
You beat City Hall. Woo!
Hopefully. All right,
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks a lot. Good night.
Have a good night. All right. Fifth on the agenda, 14 Nicole Way, LLC, extension of final site plan approval. Mike, no comments again, I believe. And Rich?
Same, it's a reapproval, there's no objection to the reapproval. There are obvious things that the applicant knows about that they still need to work with, they need permits and some other information as part of the original planning board approval resolution.
And Pat, I don't believe you had any comments. I think most of us on the board remember this applicant. We, personally, I think you worked really well with us, and I think we have a better project. So do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to grant a one-year reapproval to the applicant.
I'll second.
Second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye. Thank
Good luck.
Thank you.
Any idea when you'll,
Permits.
yeah,
Waiting on permits, and we were having issues with septic.
okay.
So we think we've got it figured out at this point. It was moved down, moved up. Hopefully.
Good.
I should know in the next, hopefully, couple of weeks.
Great.
Thank you.
Good luck with it. Last on the agenda tonight is Braemar Carmel, 49 Seminary Hill Road, reapproval. No comments by Mike or Pat, and Rich, you had a couple.
I have one question, though, if I could
Sure.
ask. Looks like they're moving close to the end. Are you guys close to meeting all the conditions of the approval? Looks like they're getting ready to start the process.
Yeah, we are. The applicant, project's a full go, obviously. Everybody's aware of the impact that that COVID-19 has had on the assisted living industry, so that's really the cause of the delay. But they're looking to break ground as soon as this coming spring.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to see if that was the case.
And just to remind the board, this is the assisted living facility at the Paladin property.
Yeah. Seminary Hill.
Right.
Before Rich, your comments, can you just, I remember this project, I'm not sure everybody else does. Can you give us a brief overview of what you're planning here?
Sure, yeah.
This is going to be next to the distillery, right? So that, yep.
Would it be helpful if I put the boards up?
Sure. Rich, I'm sorry to intervene here.
That's okay. My comments, I have no objection to the reapproval, so on the grand scheme of things, there are permits that are still needed, DEC, they already have a DEP one, have approved sanitary permit. There's documentation from the resolution that still needs to be provided, performance bond, engineering fees, all that kind of fun stuff, sewer and water permits, all things that have to still be done, but not insurmountable, and the applicant's aware of it.
Great.
Yep. Yeah, that's all forthcoming. The DEP approvals are all in place, and we do have those few other items to check off before we go to construction. So this is a 152-bed assisted living facility.
Can you speak a little bit louder for the folks watching from TV?
It's so this is the project is called Braemar at Carmel. It's a 152-bed assisted living facility. We enter the site from Seminary Hill Road through the driveway, the existing driveway to the Paladin Center through an easement, enter our property. You can see there's a variety of amenities on the property. We have our emergency access a little further south on Seminary Hill Road. All of the necessary site items, including refuse enclosures, our accessible parking.
It's all assisted living?
Yes.
So this is a project also that, when the time comes, we're going to want to get involved from an architectural point of view.
I have one question. You know, the impact of COVID, certainly understandable. What circumstances were you looking for to kind of restart this? What triggers the green light at this point?
Yeah, sorry,
It's okay.
I can't speak into the mic, and there we go. Yeah, the delay was, from what I understand, more of an impact on the business, and so it was, everything just kind of slowed down as we're coming out of it. There's no hard threshold that they're coming through. I think we're just coming through a tough time for the industry, and they are now ready to proceed.
Mr. Chairman, just to remind you that our architectural consultant was involved prior to site plan approval on this, so I can provide you with the record to remind you of what we did with regard to this.
Yeah.
Right, I was going to say, I know that there was an ARB, or, an architectural submission. In fact, on the back of these boards, I could show you the elevations.
Sure.
And a reminder, there's like a 100-foot tree line buffer
Yep.
that is mandated by the previous owner of the property. It's a easement, I think he called it, where it has to stay green the whole time. So.
Yeah, there are conservation easements on the property. The opening in all of those easements is basically where the driveway comes through, and around a good portion of the perimeter, if not the entire, I believe the entire perimeter of the site, there are these conservation easements.
So all the neighbors won't have this right in their backyard. It's pretty far through the woods to get there.
Right, there'll be a solid existing tree line, in addition to how we're augmenting it with some of the evergreen plantings to separate from the closest neighbors.
And a reminder, too, that there was a prior approval for an office building in this location. So this is greater setbacks, lower height than the office building. So in your opinion at the time, it was an improvement from the prior approval, which was the office building.
Yeah, this changed quite a bit from where it started.
Any other questions? Or wasn't the motion to grant?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant reapproval of final site plan, 1 year.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Hopefully we see some activity there.
Yeah, from what I understand, it
Love
should
to see
be,
that
it should be
get
soon, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Rose distributed the minutes. We have a approval for the minutes of September 22nd, as well as October 14th.
I had sent some comments. Rose was going to implement them. They were fairly minor.
Do we have a motion to accept the minutes as modified by Mr. Frankel?
I'll make that motion to
I'll
approve the
second.
minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.